Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We have a massive, and I mean a massive, stack of documents to get through today.
It's a big one.
It is. But before we even crack open the first page, and trust me, you are going to want to stick around for this, we have just a little bit of housekeeping.
The important stuff.
The most important stuff. If you're enjoying these deep dives, if you love, that feeling of getting just a little bit smarter while you're stuck in traffic.
Or folding the laundry.
Or folding the laundry. Yes, please hit that subscribe button right now.
It really is the best way to support what we do.
It's the single best thing you can do. It helps us grow, it helps us keep the lights on, and it makes sure you never miss a beat. Also, I want to encourage you to head over to our website. We've put together some incredible resources there, links to the source material, our notes. It'll help you really master what we talk about.
So subscribe, check the site.
Exactly. And let's get into it.
It's wonderful to be back. And today we're tackling a subject that feels like it's ripped straight from the headlines, but, we're going to look at it through a very different lens.
We are. We're talking about the rules of the game.
Yeah.
We hear these words all the time. Corruption, scandals, quid pro quo. Yeah. They get thrown around on cable news so often that they almost lose their meaning. It sounds like a movie plot.
Right.
But today, we're asking the hard question. What do those words actually mean in the eyes of the law? Like specifically.
Down to the letter.
Yeah. If I buy a city council member a burger, am I going to prison? If I threaten to vote against a mayor, is that coercion?
It's a valid question, and the answer, as is so often the case in law, is, well, it's nuanced. It's not about vibes, and it's not about what feels wrong.
No.
It is about what is written in the statutes.
Exactly. So today we are doing a deep dive into the primary source material that defines public integrity right here in the Lone Star State. We are looking at Texas Penal Code Chapter 36, bribery and corrupt influence.
This is the playbook. And legally speaking, this falls under Title 8, Offenses Against Public Administration.
Okay.
The entire philosophy behind this chapter is protecting the integrity of government decisions. That's the North Star here.
The integrity of the decision.
Yes. We want to ensure that when a judge makes a ruling, or a legislator casts a vote, or, a police officer makes an arrest, they are doing it because it's the right thing to do. Legally, procedurally.
Right. We need to know they aren't acting because money changed hands.
Or because someone promised them a job, or because someone threatened to hurt their family.
So our mission today is to demystify all the legalese. We're going to try and create a kind of user's guide to public integrity.
I like that, a user's guide.
Whether you are a citizen, a voter, someone thinking about running for office, or, just someone who wants to understand what is actually happening when you read a headline about a scandal, this is for you.
We're going to break down the difference between a gift, a bribe,
and just smart politics.
Exactly. And we're going to look at the hard lines you absolutely cannot cross. Because the consequences here are severe.
We're not talking about a slap on the wrist.
No, not at all. We're talking felonies, significant prison time, and the complete destruction of a reputation.
I've got the text in front of me, and I promise I'm going to try to translate all the complex jargon into plain English. I'll be the voice of the person who didn't go to law school but wants to know where the line is.
And I'll do my best to explain not just the what, but the why. Why do specific exceptions exist? Why is the definition of benefit written the way it is?
Because there's a logic to it somewhere.
Usually, even in the densest statutes, there is a logic to the madness.
Okay, let's start at the foundation. Section 36.01, the definitions. You can't play the game if you don't know who the players are.
Right.
And looking at this list, some of these definitions aren't what I expected at all.
The law creates its own dictionary. The first one that usually trips people up is custody.
Yeah, I saw that. Custody. My brain immediately goes to prison.
Oh, yeah.
I'm picturing an orange jumpsuit, iron bars.
Whole movie scene. Right.
Yeah, but the text here seems much broader.
It is much broader. Section 36.1 defines custody as being detained or under arrest by a peace officer or under restraint by a public servant pursuant to a court order.
Okay, so let's walk through that. If I'm pulled over on the side of the road for speeding and the officer says, step out of the car and wait here by the bumper, am I in custody?
For the purposes of this chapter, yes.
Really?
Yes. You are detained. You are under the control of a peace officer. You don't have to be booked into the county jail to be in custody.
Huh. That's a crucial distinction.
It is, because as we'll see later, there are specific offenses regarding things like bribery or providing contraband that hinge on this exact definition.
So if you try to slip that officer some money while you're standing by the bumper,
You are interacting with someone holding you in custody.
the clock starts the moment the lights go on, basically.
Pretty much.
Okay, now, another player defined here is the party official. This one confused me a bit. I initially thought, is this a guy who organizes events? A party planner?
Hey, no, not that kind of party.
No. Reading the text, it seems to be about political parties.
It is strictly about the political machine. A party official is a person who holds any position or office in a political party. We're talking precinct chairs, county chairs.
The people running the show behind the scenes?
Exactly. People who are elected, appointed, or employed by the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and so on.
So these aren't necessarily people who draw a government paycheck. They aren't city employees or state reps.
Not necessarily. They might be volunteers. They might be paid by the party itself. But the law recognizes that political parties have immense influence over who ends up in government.
They control the primaries.
They control the apparatus. So they are regulated under these corruption laws, just like public servants. You can't bribe a county chair to rig a primary any more than you can bribe a clerk to fix a parking ticket.
It effectively closes that back door to power. Okay, here's the big one. This is the concept that the whole chapter seems to hinge on. Benefit. If we are talking about bribery, we have to know what constitutes the bribe.
Right.
If I tell a politician, hey, you look great today, nice tie, or I'm sending you good vibes, is that a benefit?
Under Texas Penal Code, Chapter 36, no, not at all. And this is where the law gets very, very precise.
Break it down for me.
The definition is specific. Benefit means anything reasonably regarded as pecuniary gain or pecuniary advantage.
Pecuniary. That's one of those lawyer words.
It just means relating to money, that's all. It has to have financial value.
So I have to hit the wallet.
It has to hit the wallet or the asset sheet. A compliment, a smile, social clout, good vibes. None of that counts as a benefit under this statute.
Okay, let's stress kiss this. A suitcase of cash.
The most obvious benefit there is. That's pecuniary gain in its purest form.
What about stock options? Or cryptocurrency?
Yes. Anything with financial value. Even if it fluctuates, it has a monetary equivalent. It's a benefit.
Okay, what about a real estate deal? Let's say I sell a plot of land to a judge for $10,000, but, the market value is $100,000. I haven't handed him cash.
But you've handed him equity.
Exactly.
That is absolutely a pecuniary advantage. You have enriched him financially. That counts as a benefit.
Okay, so it has to be financial. But here's a scenario I think a lot of people wonder about.
Yeah.
What if I don't give the money to the politician? I know that looks bad. So instead I give it to his wife or his kid.
Or you hire his unqualified nephew for a high-paying consulting gig.
Yes, that one.
You're thinking like a criminal, which is good for this exercise.
Yeah.
But the legislature was ahead of you.
I figured.
The definition of benefit explicitly includes a benefit to any other person in whose welfare the beneficiary has a direct and substantial interest.
Ah, so the loophole is closed.
Shut. If you hire a judge's unqualified son for a $100,000 job to influence the judge, that counts as a benefit to the judge.
Because you're helping someone he cares about.
You're alleviating a financial burden or providing a financial advantage to someone they care about. The law views that as if you handed the cash to the judge directly.
That effectively covers the laundering aspect of influence.
Okay.
So we've got the players, officials, party leaders, people in custody. And we know what the currency is. Pecuniary gain.
Right.
Now let's move to the crime everyone thinks of first. Section 36.02. Bribery.
This is the core of the chapter. This is the red zone. And the first thing to understand, which often surprises people, is that bribery is a two-way street.
Meaning what?
Meaning it's a crime to offer it, and it's a crime to accept it.
Oh, okay.
Section 36.02 says a person commits an offense if he intentionally or knowingly offers, confers, or agrees to confer, or solicits, accepts, or agrees to accept.
So let's go back to that traffic stop.
Right.
If I offer a cop $50 to let me go, and he looks at me and says, absolutely not, put that away, have I still committed a crime?
Yes. The offer itself is the offense.
Even though he didn't take it?
The crime is completed the moment you make the offer with the intent to influence him. He doesn't have to take it for you to be guilty. You've already tried to corrupt the process.
And if he does take it?
Then you are both going down, you for offering, him for accepting. It's a symbiotic crime.
Okay, let's look at the mechanism here. We know what a benefit is simply giving money to a public servant bribery.
No. And this is the most crucial distinction in the entire chapter.
Really?
Simply giving money might be an illegal gift, which we'll get to later, but for it to be bribery, you need a specific equation. Benefit plus consideration.
Consideration. That sounds like contract law. Unpack that for us.
Consideration means the benefit is given in exchange for something specific. The statute lists what that something can be: a decision, opinion, recommendation, vote, or other exercise of discretion.
Quid pro quo. This for that.
Exactly. It requires a link. Here is $1,000. Now vote yes on the zoning permit. That link is the consideration.
Without that link, it's not bribery.
Without that exchange, it might be something else, but it isn't bribery under Section 36.02.
Who falls under this? We mentioned public servants and party officials.
It covers public servants, party officials, and this is a fascinating inclusion: voters.
Voters. You could bribe a voter.
You can be charged with bribery for paying a voter, and a voter can be charged for accepting payment. Subsection A1 mentions the exercise of discretion as a voter.
So you can't pay someone to vote a certain way.
Correct. Here is $20. Go vote for candidate X. That is bribery.
Wow. I feel like I see that implied in movies or history books all the time. Walking around money on election day.
Right. But in Texas, strictly speaking, that's a felony.
A felony of what degree?
A felony of the second degree.
Which is serious. We're talking 2 to 20 years in prison.
Correct. It's treated with the same severity as bribing a judge.
Now let's play defense attorney for a second. Let's say I want to bribe a guy, but I'm smart. I say, hey, vote yes on this permit. I promise I'll take care of you. But I don't give him the money until he votes. The vote happens. It's recorded. A week later, I hand him the cash. And I say, this isn't a bribe. The vote is already done. It's just a tip, a thank you for a job well done.
Nice try. But the law anticipates that specific defense.
I'm sure it does.
Subsection C specifically states, it is no defense to prosecution that the benefit is not offered or accepted until after the decision or vote has occurred.
So the timeline doesn't save me.
Not at all. If the agreement or the understanding was there, if the deal was do this and you get that, it doesn't matter if the payment comes 5 years later.
The crime is the deal.
The crime is the deal, not the calendar date of the transaction.
What if the guy leaves office? Say he votes for my permit, retires the next day, and then I pay him when he's a private citizen. Is that okay?
Still bribery. Subsection C also says it's no defense that the public servant has ceased to be a public servant.
You can't retire your way out of a bribery charge.
You cannot.
Okay, what about this one? I bribe a guy who just won the election, but he hasn't been sworn in yet. It's November. Inauguration is in January. I say, here's 10 grand. When you get in there, fire the police chief. Can I argue, hey, he wasn't a public servant when I paid him. He had no power.
Again, subsection B shuts that down. It's no defense that the person was not qualified to act because they hadn't assumed office yet.
So bribing the winner before the inauguration is still bribery.
It's still bribery. They really thought of every angle.
They did.
They had to. Corruption is innovative. The law has to be comprehensive to catch the creativity of criminals.
Now we have to talk about the elephant in the room. We see lobbyists giving huge checks to politicians every single day.
They call them campaign contributions.
Exactly. How is that not bribery? I give you money, you support my industry.
Yeah.
To the average person, that feels exactly like quid pro quo.
This is the most complex and honestly the most controversial part of the statute. This is subsection A4. It's where the law tries to balance corruption against the First Amendment and the reality of how campaigns are funded.
Okay, so break it down. Why aren't all lobbyists in jail?
Because the law creates a specific exception, or rather, a much higher bar of proof for political contributions.
A higher bar.
Subsection A4 says that for a political contribution to be considered bribery, there must be direct evidence of an express agreement to take or withhold a specific exercise of official discretion.
Express agreement. That sounds like a very high bar.
It is an incredibly high bar. It means that the implied understanding, the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, the I'm supporting you because you're friendly to my industry and I assume you'll keep being friendly.
That's not enough.
That is not enough for a bribery conviction. The law protects the fundraising system unless you have what effectively amounts to a contract.
So I have to be stupid enough to say, I'm giving you this $5,000 check specifically so you will vote yes on Bill 123 next Tuesday.
Essentially, yes. If you just say, here is $5,000 for your campaign, I know you're a good friend of the construction industry, and then next week he votes for your construction project.
That's legal.
That's generally legal. That is considered participating in the political process. Unless a prosecutor can prove there was an explicit agreement linking the money to that specific vote, it falls under the protection of the election code.
That is such a fine line. It feels like a distinction without a difference to a lot of voters.
It's a fine line legally, but a huge chasm practically. And the statute even adds a specific note about evidence. It says, notwithstanding any rule of evidence, allowing factual inferences, direct evidence of the express agreement shall be required.
Translate that for me.
It means the jury isn't allowed to just assume there was a deal because the timing was suspicious or the optics were bad.
They need the smoking gun.
They need the recording, the email, or the witness testimony that says, we agreed, cash for vote. Without that, it's just politics.
So without that express agreement, political contributions are legally safe from bribery charges.
Correct. It preserves the ability of citizens and groups to support candidates they like, but, well, it leaves that door open for influence that feels transactional to the average person, even if it's technically legal.
All right, that explains a lot about the political landscape. Let's move from the carrot bribery to the stick. Because sometimes you don't pay someone to do what you want, you threaten them.
This brings us to Section 36.03, coercion of public servant or voter.
How is coercion defined here? Is it just being mean or aggressive?
No, it's more specific. It is influencing or attempting to influence a public servant or voter by means of coercion, which usually implies a threat.
Like, vote for this or I'll break your legs.
That would certainly count. That involves a threat of violence, which actually bumps the offense up to a felony, but it also includes influencing a public servant to violate their known legal duty.
Interesting. So if I pressure a clerk to destroy a document they are legally required to keep, that's coercion.
Yes, you are coercing them to violate their duty, but there is a massive, massive exception here that is essential for understanding how government actually works.
Okay.
If we didn't have this exception, every politician in Austin might be in jail.
I love exceptions. What is it?
Subsection C. It says it is not coercion if a member of a governing body influences another member through official action.
Translate that into the real world.
Imagine a city council. Council member A wants a new park in her district. Council member B hates the park. Council member A says, if you don't vote for my park, I am going to vote against your budget proposal next week.
That sounds like a threat.
It is a threat. It is absolutely a threat, but it's a political threat involving official action. The law protects this. It's called log rolling or horse trading.
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Or, if you hurt me, I'll hurt you politically. As long as the threat is about official actions, votes, deliberations, it is legal.
So, I'll vote against your bill is legal.
Right.
I'll slash your tires is legal.
Precisely. One is governance, the other is a crime. The law recognizes that politics involves pressure, but it restricts that pressure to the mechanisms of government.
Clear enough. Now, related to this is Section 36.06, obstruction or retaliation. This sounds like revenge.
It is. This is about harming someone because of their role in the justice system or government. It is looking backward. Bribery and coercion are about the future. Retaliation is about punishing them for what they already did.
And who were the victims here?
Public servants, witnesses, prospective witnesses, informants, or people who report crimes.
So I testify against a guy, and his brother comes after me.
That is retaliation. It's a felony, and it applies if they harm you or threaten to harm you.
I noticed there's a very modern addition to this section, subsection A1. It talks about websites.
Yes, the doxing provision. This is a direct response to the internet age.
Tell me about it.
It creates a specific offense for posting a public servant's home address or phone number on a publicly accessible website with the intent to harm them.
This is huge. Because previously, you might argue, hey, public records are public records. I'm just sharing information.
Right. But the legislature realized that posting a police officer's home address or a judge's home address on a hostile forum is effectively painting a target on their back.
Right.
So if you do that with the intent to cause harm or a threat of harm to them or their family, it's a crime.
And how do they prove intent? Intent is always the hard part in law.
The statute gives prosecutors a powerful tool here. It establishes prima facie evidence.
Okay.
Basically, if the public servant sends you a written demand to take the information down and you don't remove it within 48 hours, the law allows the jury to assume you intend harm.
Wow. 48 hours. So if you're running a blog or a forum and someone posts a judge's address and you get that letter, you better scrub it fast.
You better. If you leave it up, you are effectively adopting the threat. And this applies to family members, too. You can't target a district attorney's kids to get to the DA.
I also saw that public servant in this section includes honorably retired peace officers. Why that inclusion?
That's an important expansion. Think about the nature of police work. Just because a cop retires doesn't mean the people he arrested forget about him.
Right. Grudges.
Gangs hold grudges. Criminal enterprises hold grudges. The law extends that protection to them and also to private contractors working in civil commitment facilities. It says you are still off limits.
It seems like Texas takes retaliation very seriously.
Very. It's usually a third-degree felony, but it bumps up to second degree if the victim was a juror or if that doxing leads to actual bodily injury. You do not want to mess with the people who make the system run.
Speaking of making the system run, let's talk about the courtroom itself. Section 36.04, improper influence. This one mentions privately addressing a public servant.
This is the ex parte rule. It's vital for the concept of a fair trial.
Ex parte? That sounds like a bad party.
Or a lonely one, yeah. It's Latin for from one party. It means one-sided. Imagine you're in a lawsuit. You find out who the judge is. You can't just call the judge on his personal cell phone and say, hey, let me tell you why I'm right, without the other side being on the line.
Because that would be unfair. The other guy can't argue back if he doesn't know I'm talking to the judge.
Exactly. If the judge hears only your side, their impartiality is compromised. So Section 36.04 makes it a Class A misdemeanor to privately communicate with the judge or a hearing officer with the intent to influence the outcome.
So all arguments have to be in open court or in written filings that everyone sees.
Yes. Transparency is the antidote to improper influence here.
That leads us to Section 36.05, tampering with witness. This feels like it goes hand in hand with retaliation.
It does, but tampering is about changing the outcome before it happens. This isn't revenge, this is obstruction. This is buying off a witness, coercing them to lie, or paying them to get lost.
Here is a plane ticket to Tahiti. Don't come to court on Monday.
That is a textbook violation of 36.05. The statute calls it eluding legal process or absenting himself from an official proceeding.
I noticed there are some specific enhancements here regarding family violence. That seems to be a recurring theme in Texas law lately.
Texas has really tightened the screws here, and for good reason. Domestic violence cases often fall apart because the victim is afraid to testify. So the law says if you tamper with a witness in a family violence case, the penalty floor is raised. And if the tampering itself is an act of family violence like hitting a spouse to keep them from testifying, it counts as coercion.
And the stakes can get incredibly high, right?
Yeah.
I was reading about the penalty structure, and it seems to scale.
It scales dramatically. The penalty for tampering with a witness usually matches the category of the offense being covered up. Meaning, if you are on trial for a Class B misdemeanor, tampering is a Class A misdemeanor.
Right.
But if you're on trial for capital murder and you bribe a witness to lie, the tampering charge becomes a first-degree felony.
So even if you beat the murder rap, the cover-up puts you away for life.
Potentially, yes. The law ensures that the penalty for destroying the truth is just as severe as the crime you were trying to hide. It removes the incentive to cheat.
Okay, we've covered the heavy stuff. Bribery, coercion, tampering. These are obvious crimes. Most of us know not to threaten a judge.
Right.
But now we are getting into the murky waters, the gray areas.
The land of gifts, honorariums, and free lunches. This is where well-meaning people often accidentally break the law.
Let's talk about honorariums, Section 36.27. I see politicians giving speeches all the time. I assume they get paid?
Well, yes and no. Section 36.07 says a public servant commits an offense if they accept an honorarium in consideration for services they would not have been asked to provide but for their official position.
So if I'm the police chief and a security company asks me to give a speech on the future of policing, I can't take a check for that.
Correct. Because why are they asking you?
Because I'm the chief.
Right. You're already paid by the taxpayers to be the chief. You shouldn't be double-dipping or monetizing the prestige of your office.
But wait, surely they can feed me or pay for my flight. I shouldn't have to pay out of pocket to do a work trip.
Right. And subsection B provides the free lunch nuance. You can accept transportation, lodging, and meals in connection with a conference if you are actually doing work.
Define actually doing work.
The statute says the services must be more than merely perfunctory.
Great phrase, merely perfunctory.
It means you can't just show up, wave at the crowd, and then spend 3 days at the resort on the organizer's dime. You have to give a speech, lead a seminar, sit on a panel.
You have to provide some real value.
You have to provide value other than just your presence.
Got it. So, sing for your supper,
Yeah.
literally. Expenses are okay, profit is not.
Exactly.
Now we move to section 36.08, prohibited gifts. This is where it gets tricky for the average person interacting with government.
This section is vital to understand because it's distinct from bribery. In bribery, we needed a quid pro quo.
Right.
In section 36.08, there is no quid pro quo required.
Wait, really? So I don't have to ask for anything in return? Just giving the gift is the crime?
If the public servant falls into certain categories, yes. Section 36.08 creates strict liability for accepting benefits from people under their jurisdiction. It just assumes that the gift is inherently corrupting the relationship.
Okay, let's run through the categories. Who are we talking about?
First, regulators. If you work for an agency that inspects or regulates an industry, you cannot take a benefit from a person you regulate.
So a health inspector cannot take a gift from a restaurant owner.
Period. Even if the food is fine. Even if it's just a Christmas gift. No.
Who else?
Prison and jail staff. They cannot take gifts from prisoners or people in their custody.
Obvious safety reasons there. You don't want guards beholden to inmates.
Right. Government lawyers. If you work for the attorney general or a DA, you can't take gifts from people you were suing or prosecuting. And this is a big one for business purchasing agents. People who decide on government contracts cannot take gifts from vendors who are interested in those contracts.
Okay, so if I'm a vendor selling paper clips to the county, I can't buy the purchasing agent a nice watch.
Correct. Even if you don't ask for the contract renewal, the relationship itself makes the gift illegal.
Now, there is a catch-all here in subsection F that blew my mind when I read it.
I know which one you mean.
It mentions the legislature and the governor.
Yes. Subsection F says members of the legislature, the governor, and the lieutenant governor cannot accept a benefit from any person.
Any person, like literally anyone.
That is what the text says.
So if the governor's mom gives him a birthday present, is she going to jail? If his wife buys him a tie?
Well, if you stop reading at section 36.08, yes. It sounds impossible to follow. It sounds draconian.
But I assume we don't stop reading there.
We do not. This sets up the transition to section 36.08, the exceptions.
The safe harbor. This is the how to stay out of jail section.
Exactly. These exceptions apply to the gift prohibitions we just discussed. They explain why the governor can accept a birthday present from his mom without committing a Class A misdemeanor.
Okay, give us the top exceptions. How do we navigate this minefield?
Exception number 1. Kinship or personal relationship.
Saved by the family tree.
Section 36.A2 allows gifts conferred on account of kinship or a personal, professional, or business relationship independent of the official status.
So my brother gives me a watch because he's my brother, not because I'm a senator.
Correct. Or your old college roommate buys you dinner because you've been friends for 20 years, not because you just got elected. The relationship has to be the driver, not the office.
That makes sense.
If you meet a lobbyist after you get elected, you can't claim this exception easily.
Okay, that covers friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
What about just regular professional courtesy? Is there a dollar limit where the law says, okay, this is too small to matter?
Yes. Exception number 2 is the $50 rule.
$50. That's the magic number.
Generally, items with a value of less than $50 are okay. But there's a catch. This excludes cash or negotiable instruments like checks.
So I can't hand a council member a $20 bill?
No cash. Cash always looks like a bribe. But you can buy them a $49 bottle of wine. Or a $30 plaque.
Or a steak dinner.
Provided it's not too fancy, yes.
So I buy the mayor a steak, I better make sure we skip the appetizers and dessert to keep it under 50.
It's a safe bet. But wait, there is a bigger exception that swallows the $50 rule in many cases. The guest rule.
Ah, the famous lobbyist loophole. I've heard of this.
Subsections B and C. This says you can accept food, lodging, transportation, or entertainment if you accept it as a guest.
And what defines a guest?
The donor must be present.
Oh, so if a lobbyist wants to buy a senator a $200 dinner.
If the lobbyist just sends a $200 gift card to the senator's office, it's illegal. It's over $50.
Right.
But if the lobbyist sits at the table and eats with the senator, it is legal under the guest exception.
That is a massive distinction. Just being there makes it legal.
Yes. The theory is that if you're there, it's a social interaction, a meeting, a discussion. If you just send the gift, it looks like a payment.
But there's a catch. regarding transparency, right? They have to report it.
Yes. If the recipient is required by law to report those items, like on their financial disclosure statements, they must report it. Transparency is the trade-off for the free meal.
Okay, so under $50 is okay. Over 50 is okay if the giver is there with you and you report it.
Correct. That is the rule of thumb for dining and entertainment in Austin.
What about campaign money? We touched on this in Bribery, but does it apply to gifts too?
Yes. Campaign contributions reported under the election code are an exception to the gift prohibitions. You can take a $5,000 check for your campaign account, even if you can't take a $5,000 watch for your wrist.
It all comes down to which pocket the money goes into.
Precisely. One pocket is for the public office, the campaign. The other is personal enrichment. The law protects the first and penalizes the second.
There was one more exception I saw that seemed very specific. Something about first responders.
Yes. Section 36.9 NADA. It allows first responders, police, fire, EMTs to accept complimentary legal advice for wills, powers of attorney, and estate planning.
That's nice. Why is that specific cut out there?
It recognizes the inherent danger of their jobs. You know, we want first responders to have their affairs in order without worrying about the cost. Local bar associations often run free clinics for them.
And the law just clarifies that this isn't an illegal benefit.
Right. It's a service to those who serve. It shows that the law isn't just a hammer, it can be a scalpel, too.
Okay, so let's try to synthesize all of this. We've been swimming in statutes for a while now. What's the big picture here? How do I categorize these rules in my head?
The best way to think about Chapter 36 is that it draws three distinct circles of behavior.
Okay, give me circle one.
Circle one is bribery. This is the red zone. Buying a vote. Quid pro quo, do this, get that. It's always illegal, severe penalties, no excuses. It doesn't matter if you report it. It doesn't matter if you're friends. If there's a deal for a vote, it's a crime.
Circle two.
Circle two is coercion and retaliation. This is the danger zone. Threatening a vote or hurting someone for doing their job. Also, always illegal, with that one specific exception for political log rolling among officials.
And circle three.
Circle three is improper gifts. This is the gray zone. Currying favor. Trying to build influence without an explicit deal. The law doesn't ban it entirely, it regulates it. It says you can do this, but only in small amounts.
The $50 rule?
Or if you do it socially with the guest rule, or if it's family.
It seems like the law is trying to balance human nature. We like to give gifts, we like to have dinner with friends, with the need for a government that isn't for sale.
Exactly. It acknowledges that politicians are humans with friends and appetites, but it tries to put guardrails around those relationships so they don't override the public interest.
Here's the aha moment for me.
Yeah.
We talked about how bribery requires a deal, but the gift prohibitions in 36.08 do not.
That is the most dangerous trap for public servants. You can go to jail for accepting a gift even if you never changed a single vote, even if you remain totally impartial.
Just taking it is the crime.
The crime is the acceptance of the benefit from a prohibited source.
It puts the burden entirely on the public servant to know who they're dealing with. Are you a vendor? Are you regulated by my agency? You have to vet your friends.
You do. Ignorance of the donor status is a very dangerous defense to rely on. If you're in power, you have to know who is buying you dinner.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a provocative thought. We talked about the guest exception.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that a lobbyist can take a politician on a, $5,000 hunting trip or a luxury dinner, as long as the lobbyist goes along and it gets reported.
It creates a system where access is currency. If you can afford to be the guest host, you get the ear of the lawmaker.
Right. Does the requirement to simply report that trip truly neutralize the influence it buys? The law says it's legal, but does it feel ethical?
That is the question every voter has to answer for themselves. The law sets the floor, the minimum standard of conduct to avoid prison. Ethics is often a higher ceiling.
Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right.
Just because something is legal under Section 36.10 doesn't mean it smells good to the public.
And that is why we do these deep dives. So you know exactly what is legal, what isn't, and you can make up your own mind about the rest.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to the penal code.
Thank you so much for breaking this down with us today. It's dense stuff, but it matters so much.
My pleasure.
And thank you to you, the listener. If you learned something new today, if you now know why you can't give the mailman a suitcase of cash or why that steak dinner might be a felony, please subscribe to the channel.
And check out the website.
Check out the website for the full text of Chapter 36 if you're feeling brave. We will see you on the next deep dive. Stay curious.